So, as a home team, you call the toss. Let's see what we get. Heads or tails? Heads? Huh? Heads to decide whether you decide. Okay. If you get this, if it's heads, which I'm afraid it isn't. So, over to you. Over to you guys to decide which. Four.
So it's Montessori for and it's BIC against. And we see you all here exactly at 10 o'clock. Okay?
Great.
Okay.
Why don't we?
You might want to quiet.
Yeah.
Speaker of the House.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming along. I've just seen Miss Austin as well. As you know, we're here to see BIC and Montessori, and I'm going to pass over for official introductions in a second, but just thank you for coming to BIC, and I hope that you have a lovely morning.
Thank you. You couldn't have a more charming start to the morning than that. Thank you so much, Ruby. Right, we're going. Good morning, everybody, and many thanks indeed to Miss Caldwell, who was here just a little while ago, Ruby and the other staff for the warm welcome. I think your table out there was much appreciated this morning. Once again, it's the 9th season and we have 10 schools taking part. We have the Academy, Agora and the French Lycée, Mallorca International from up north, Queen's, San Cayetano, Belbel and Green Valley, and today, BIC and Montessori. I would like to very much thank our sponsors, many of them have been with us for years, Palma Pictures, MCC and Santa Ponsa, Mallorca Bulletin, Ticket Travel Agency, Portal Sales Ibex, and today we have with us the Imperial Properties from Santa Ponsa, Bosch and Georgia. Thank you very much for coming. And again, many thanks to our amazing group of volunteers, the ones at the background who do an awful lot of the work, the judges, the volunteers at the back there, and of course our timekeeper. Today we have two teams, Montessori, behind me, there we are, Theo, Romeo and Felix, and BIC at home here, Dalia, Naomi and Giulia. The timekeeper today is David Tizzo, chief spokesperson for the jury is Steve Mason, with him Izzy Newman and Oliver Nielsen. And at the back there we've got another judge, but today is just being an observer, Carlos Bestad. So he's up to trouble, we're not quite sure what he's doing. The motion today is, it should be illegal to market vaping to minors. It should be illegal to market vaping to minors. For the motion, Montessori. Against the motion, BIC. Let's start. Over to you, sir, the timekeeper.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for taking part in this debate. Before we start, just two little things. For the benefit of the judges, can we just confirm on your speaking order? I believe you're in that order, is that right? BIC, who's speaking first? Second. Okay. You all have 5 minutes to speak after the initial bell when you're ready to go. You have a minute where there are no interruptions. There's a second bell. You're there 3 minutes when you can be interrupted if you want some information. Then another bell, a final minute with no interruptions, and then a final bell. Okay, everyone's happy? We have the first speaker then, please, for Montessori.
Mr. Speaker, esteemed judge, and members of the House. Today, we stand firmly in favour of the proposition that marketing vapes to minors should be legal. It is not just a matter of personal choice. It's a matter of public health, ethical responsibility, and personal freedom. Vaping is not without risks. e-cigarettes contain harmful substances such as nicotine, which can lead to health problems, brain development issues, and addiction. The adolescent brain is still developing, and exposure to nicotine during this critical period can have lasting effects on cognitive function and emotional regulations. By marketing vapes to minors, we essentially normalize the behavior of how detrimental effects on their health for years to come. Secondly, let's address ethical concerns. The marketing strategies used for vapes often mimic those used for traditional tobacco products. Colorful packaging, and appealing flavors, and social media influences. These tactics are designed to attract young people, exploiting their innocence and desire for acceptance. We cannot turn a blind eye on the fact that these strategies are predatory. We must protect our children from such an exploitation. Moreover, the statistics are alarming. Recent studies in the Spanish government have shown that vaping among teenagers has skyrocketed in recent years. E-cigarette use among high school students has significantly leading to a new generation of nicotine addicts. If we allow campaigners to continue marketing vapes to minors, we will inevitably see an increase in the number of young people addicted to nicotine, perpetrating a cycle of health crisis and dependence. Furthermore, let's consider the societal impact. When we allow the marketing vapes on minors, we're not endangering individual health, but also endangering the well-being of our society as a whole. An entire generation addicted to nicotine possesses significant economic costs, including healthcare expenses and loss of productivity. By taking a stand now, we make this practice illegal. We can protect not only our youth, but also the future of our communities. In conclusion, the arguments in favor of making marketing vapes to minors illegal are compelling. We must prioritize the health and safety of our youth over our corporate profits. We owe it to the next generation to create an environment where they can thrive without a burden of addiction, health, and health risks. Let us take a decisive step towards a healthier future by supporting this motion. Thank you.
Firstly, BIC.
Good morning, judges, teachers, students, and fellow debaters. While the health concerns of vaping are undeniable, my team and I believe that banning its marketing is not the right solution. I will begin by discussing the importance of free will and how banning such ads could actually have the opposite effect, making vaping more attractive by turning it into a forbidden fruit. I will also explain how instead of banning, we should focus on honest advertising, providing clear information about the dangers of vaping, just as we've done with cigarettes. Next, Daria will talk about how a ban could give rise to a black market. Much like during the Prohibition era in the 1920s, when alcohol consumption went underground, making regulation even harder and more dangerous. Finally, Donia will address the role of misleading packaging and why we should focus on educating teens about these tactics rather than shielding them from the real world. Together,
Banning marketing may drive vaping on the ground, making it more dangerous.
that was fine. Right, sorry, could you?
Well, banning marketing may drive vaping underground, making it more dangerous. Never mind.
Okay. Together we will show that banning vaping ads may do more harm than good. Thank you. Let me ask you something. Do you believe young people should be trusted to make their own decisions? Every day, minors are already making important choices. What to eat, what to wear, what shows to watch and not to watch. So why do we suddenly assume they can't handle making decisions when it comes to vaping? This brings me to my first point, free will. One of the core values of any free society is the ability to make choices, and that includes young people. By banning vaping ads aimed at minors, we're essentially telling them, you're not capable of making informed choices. But does this really help them? No. Instead of fostering responsibility and awareness, we're treating them like they can't be trusted to think for themselves. Now, for my second point. Banning products often has this opposite effect. We've seen it time and again. When you restrict something, it doesn't disappear. In fact, it becomes even more appealing. Think about it. What happens when something is off limits? It becomes cool, rebellious, and exactly what young people are drawn to. A ban could make vaping even more popular among minors, but instead of pushing it underground, there's a smarter approach we can take. Let's look at the early days of cigarette marketing. Remember how cigarette packs used to look? Yes.
Well, countries with strict marketing bans have seen a decrease in youth vaping.
While that is true, I have also a large amount of countries who've shown that there was actually an increase. Remember how cigarette packs used to look? Bright colors, friendly designs, and ads that make smoking seem fun and innocent. Sounds familiar, right? Vape companies are using the same tricks today to hook young people. But here's the thing, we learned from that mistake. We didn't just ban cigarette ads, we fought back with honesty. Today, cigarette packs are covered with clear warnings, graphic images, and truthful information about the risks. And it works. So why aren't we doing the same thing with vaping?
No one will.
Instead of banning vape ads, we should make them accurate and educational. Show the real health risks. Highlight the dangers of addiction. Give young people the full picture and trust them to make informed decisions, just like we do with smoking. In the end, banning vaping ads doesn't solve the problem. What you need is to respect young people's free will, provide them with real information, and make sure companies aren't hiding the dangers behind flashy marketing. The lesson from history is clear. Education, not prohibition, leads to better decisions. Thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Speaker, members of the House, and esteemed judges, today I stand firmly against the motion. Today I stand firmly in support of the motion. It should be illegal to market vaping to minors. This issue transcends public policy. It is a vital step to safeguarding the health and well-being of our youth. Let's begin with the health implications. Vaping is often mistaken, viewed as a harmless alternative to smoking. But this misconception is perilous. Studies have shown that e-cigarettes contain harmful substances, including nicotine, which is highly addictive. The adolescent brain is particularly vulnerable. Exposure to nicotine during this critical developmental period can lead to long-term cognitive and behavioral issues. By allowing marketing aimed at minors, we are essentially promoting a product that can derail the health and development.
Point of information. Yes, vaping is still harmful, but it has been proven that it is less harmful than traditional cigarettes and it can serve as an alternative.
Well, we have had cigarettes for about 100 years, and vaping has just come out in the recent, past 20 years. So we don't have the knowledge to understand the long-term effects of vaping. Thank you. Marketing strategies for vaping often glamorize and normalize the act. Companies use social media influencers, colorful packaging, and enticing flavors, specifically
designed to attract young people. This targeted marketing creates the perception that vaping is cool and socially acceptable. But we must ask ourselves, are we willing to let our children become pawns in a marketing game that prioritizes profit over their own health? Moreover, the rise of vaping has been linked to an increase in traditional smoking among young people. Research indicates that many minors who vape eventually transition to cigarettes. This trend frightens their immediate health and contributes to a broader public health crisis. By prohibiting the marketing of vaping to minors, we can take a significant steps to reduce smoking rates and protect future generations from addiction. We also have the ethical responsibility as a society. It is our duty to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Minors often lack the capacity to make fully informed decisions about their own health. They are impressionable and often lack the critical thinking skills necessary to understand long-term consequences of their choices. Allowing the marketing of vaping to minors undermines our obligation to safeguard their future. In conclusion, making it illegal to market vaping to minors is not only a necessary public health measure, but it is also a moral imperative. We must prioritize the health and safety of our youth over corporate profits. Let us take a stand today to protect our children from the dangers of addiction and ensure a healthier future for us all. We strongly urge you to take the side of the proposition. Thank you for listening. There is no point in insisting that vaping is harmless or doesn't lead to any health risks, because it does. Nevertheless, me and my team will strongly stand with the point that banning the marketing of vaping to minors will not solve the issue, but vice versa, will make vaping more dangerous than ever. Advertising is a vital part of any business industry. Banning the marketing of vaping to minors is essentially a step towards banning the selling of vapes in general. Because when there is no advertising, there is no transparent commerce, because selling is directly linked to advertising. We're all familiar with the phrase, the forbidden fruit is always the sweetest. We're all familiar with the fact that most teenagers are rebellious, they like breaking the rules, and they do it partially out of spite. It has been proven many times that when certain products are banned, restricted, or not talked about, the demand persists, especially among younger people who are more driven to risky behaviors. It is estimated that more than 2.5 million high and middle school students use vaping products. The vaping industry is making thousands of dollars of minors every single year. So, do you really think that they will just stop when we ban the marketing? Do you really think that those already addicted?
Vaping is very harmful and it normalizes behavior among adolescents.
Yeah, okay, sure. But what I'm talking about, thank you for the information. What I'm talking about is that if we ban the advertising, vaping will only become more dangerous. And I will expand on it later in my speech. Yes, if the companies cannot advertise vaping to minors, they still will find another way to sell them. They will still find another way to make those thousands of dollars that they value so much. And they will probably do it by luring the teenagers into black markets that will be full of unregulated and dangerous vaping products that are sold without any control whatsoever. These black market products will be produced without any regard for safety regulations. They will be produced cheaper and they will be produced in lower quality. Since there is no more need to be clear about what they're selling, since there's no advertising. That black market will eventually be full of poorly manufactured and unsafe products full of harmful chemicals. In addition, these illegal vape products will be just easier to access because there's no control of the black market. Me and my team, we're all big history fans. We're all taking history on the IGCSEs. We're passionate young historians. And what we love the most about history is the fact that we can learn from our mistakes. We can learn from all the numerous mistakes humanity has made throughout history. And in this particular case, we're kindly provided with a very similar example, the prohibition in the 1920s in America. The 18th Amendment did illegalize the manufacturing and selling, but obviously it also illegalized advertising, which is like closely linked to selling, as I have already mentioned. But what is interesting to us is not the prohibition itself, but the effect it had on society. It might sound shocking, but the amount of alcohol consumed actually increased, and underground establishments known as speakeasies were thriving because of the illicit allure of drinking.
Prohibiting marketing is necessary to protect our minors from addiction.
Yes, sure, but thank you for the point of information. As I've already said, banning marketing will not stop the addiction because minors will still find a way to access those products, and the companies will still find a way to make their profit. And moreover, the prohibition led to major public health problems because the alcohol products were not regulated and they were of poor quality. Does it sound familiar? Oh right, those are exactly the issues I talked about a minute ago. The issues that will be following the banning of marketing of vaping to minors. After the black market will start growing, there will be no possibility for government to ensure that these products meet health and safety standards. No advertising will only add obscurity to the entire case, to the entire problem of vaping. And we won't know what is being sold to our children. It could be literally anything. As a teenager, I can assure you that minors will still find a way to access vaping products. They just will. And the authorities will face significant difficulties in tracking down all those operations. We all know that black marketing is extremely dangerous. We should by any means prevent any more.
Mr. Speaker, esteemed judges, and members of the House. The marketing of vape products to young people poses a serious health risk requiring strict regulations. The rise in adolescent vaping is driven by aggressive marketing that glamorizes e-cigarettes and downplays their dangers. Nicotine exposure harms brain development, leads to addiction, and increases the risk of substance abuse. Despite the perception that vaping is safer than smoking, its long-term effects remain unclear, as they only have been present to the market for around 20 years, with growing evidence of respiratory issues and nicotine dependency in young users. Therefore, we must regulate or ban vape marketing to prevent its normalization among youth. Vape companies target young people with enticing flavors, sleek designs, and social media campaigns that make vaping seem trendy and harmless. These tactics mirror those used by the tobacco industry, exploiting loopholes to reach teens. Flavors like fruit, cat, and candy are designed to appeal to teenagers, specifically to those in today's age. Such marketing undermines public health and fosters a culture of nicotine use among adolescents, which must be stopped. Online marketing often bypasses age restriction, making it easier for minors to access vape products. Stronger enforcement of age verification and stricter penalties for violation are necessary. Additionally, we need public awareness campaigns to counteract the misleading narratives from vape companies. Next, parents and educators must also...
You just mentioned that age verification is necessary, but it is already necessary right now. You cannot legally purchase a vape if you're under 18 years old.
Yes, but for example, with online systems or sites, it's not a very developed system, and there are still ways to access these products and pages without being over 18. Next, parents and educators must also...
Are you happy to take another one? Sorry.
Oh, yes.
Because you mentioned how the marketing of vapes is deceptive, right? Don't you think it would be better to, instead of banning them, making the ads more educational?
Making it more educational could be a resolution, but most of the brands would most likely not agree with this, as it is their interest to increase their sales of the product and not protect the society in most cases. Next, parents and educators must also play a key role in this effort by educating their children and young people about the dangers of nicotine addiction and the health risks of vaping. Additionally, schools should implement programs to warn against the dangers of e-cigarettes, reinforcing public health messages at home and in the community. The health of young people should take priority over the vape industry's profits. Just as strict advertising regulations reduce youth smoking, similar measures are essential to curb youth vaping. Only by limiting the marketing and accessibility of vape products can we protect a new generation from this danger. Thank you for your attention.
As we all know, vaping is a harmful habit, but what often goes unnoticed is the lack of education on the topic that leads to more teens becoming nicotine addicts. Regardless of whether that lack of education is to do with vaping itself or the types of manipulation companies use to attract minors. Lack of education may arguably be more harmful than misleading packaging. If minors are not taught about such deceptive marketing, they may take what they see at face value and be more inclined to experiment with vaping, whilst believing that it is not harmful. If we do not properly educate them, there is a risk of them learning the hard way. According to a survey conducted by the American Society of Clinical Ecology, more than 20% of young Americans believe that vapes are harmless and non-addictive. This is a statistic only for the US. We can only imagine how much higher the number is globally. The damage of not educating properly has already been done, and banning misleading packaging will not fix the beliefs of these people. No, banning the use of fun colors and fun flavors will not solve the problem for those who are already addicted. How many of you need coffee to properly function in the morning? For those of you who do need coffee, would you stop if the companies banned Would you stop if the government banned the elegant packaging that is used? Would you stop if they banned all flavor in coffee and it became only a
Point of information.
Yes.
Maybe it wouldn't ban all of it, but it would raise awareness for people to realize what harm they're doing to their body.
Actually, unless you educate them as well on the harm, it will not stop. If you only ban the marketing, it will only ban the fun in it. It will not stop them from. It will not educate them on that it's bad. It just makes it uninteresting, but they're already addicted at this point.
Well, marketing directly targets young people and it is designed to attract them.
Yes, and we'll get to that in a moment. Considering that caffeine is addictive and you rely on it to function, I can assume that most of you, if not all of you, would not stop drinking it. Now, as we know, too much caffeine can lead to many negative things, such as insomnia, anxiety, and increased heart rate. And overall, it is unsafe in large doses. If you had all of this taught to you, alongside being taught how coffee companies use elegant imagery and depictions of their drink to catch your attention, to captivate you in their glorified image, wouldn't you be more inclined to stop drinking coffee? This is the same issue that we have with minors vaping. We tell them not to vape, but we don't tell them how companies trick them, and so they fall into the same trap as millions of others because they could not recognize how they were being deceived. Proper education regarding the misleading packaging will prevent many from starting and will convince many more to quit than if we simply ban companies from advertising towards minors. Schools and education systems have always cooperated with dangers in the world to educate students, so why should the topic of vaping be any different? We teach students history so that they can recognize the repetition in the modern world. So why can't we use a very similar concept to teach them about vape marketing and to teach them that this is not something that is only applied to vapes, but a plethora of other drugs and harmful substances. If we ban the marketing of vapes towards minors, we lose this very vital and relevant example that can be used to make teens more prepared for adulthood. Why do we think that it is beneficial to remove dangers from their sight and shelter them away from the real world? If we constantly shelter minors from dangers, such as misleading marketing, it will only hinder them in life. How can we say that we want to protect them if we only cause more problems in the future? As a teen myself, I know that it is impossible to teach something to us without giving a proper example. What use is it telling us to look out for misleading marketing whilst not giving us examples that are relevant to us and or not being able to provide those examples because we thought to have them banned? How can we learn the dangers of misleading marketing if we cannot see it until we are adults? In conclusion, rather than banning the marketing of vapes towards minors, we should cooperate with the misinformation vape companies give us and use it as an educational tool. This would help inform young people about the dangers of vaping and make them more aware of the deceptive advertising that they will inevitably face as adults. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. You now have 2 minutes to prepare your summing up arguments. The first to speak after the 2 minutes will be the BIC again. 2 minutes.
We are all scared for our minors. We're all scared of vaping. But I think that when we are scared of something, we should not run from it. We should make use of it. We should make it beneficial for us. We should turn it around and make it educational for our minors. I know that it may seem easier to hide it. It may seem easier to pretend that it doesn't exist. But when you pretend that something doesn't exist, it doesn't solve the issue. The demand will persist, as that's just how addictive substances work. People who are addicted will follow through the addiction. They will find a way. And as we're living in a capitalist society, the companies will not just give up on their profits, and they will persist to do more and more revenue from minors. Even if it's unethical, but it's just the reality that we live in. And what me and my team still stand by is that making the marketing more educational will provide more benefit for the children in the future. Not only avoiding that addiction, but also teaching them about their future. Because imagine if they just go out as the adults and they face all this deceptive marketing once again, but they've never been taught what it is before. They will pick up addictions, not only vaping, but like other harmful substances that I don't even want to mention. So I think that it is important to start as early as possible and to cooperate with the vape companies to make the marketing and the advertising more educational and less deceptive, and apply regulations to the packaging in order to use it to educate our children and not to shelter them from the reality of the world. We think that education and not prohibition is the answer.
Hello. Well, as we all know, vaping can be a safer alternative for adults trying to quit smoking. While that may be true, the focus of this debate is on protecting adults. Adults have the capacity to make informed decisions about their health, whereas minors do not. Allowing marketing targeted at minors risks normalizing a habit that could lead them to addiction and health issues. We also know that banning marketing may drive vaping underground,
making it more dangerous. While there is a concern about driving products underground, the focus should be on the health risks posed to minors. We can regulate responsible access for adults without exposing youth to targeted marketing that glamorizes vaping. Education and prevention should be prioritized over exposure. Education is more effective than banning marketing. Well, education is indeed crucial, but it cannot be the sole strategy. If we allow marketing to minors, we undermine educational efforts by presenting vaping as an attractive and acceptable behavior. An outright ban on marketing is necessary to reinforce the educational message and protect young people. As the opposition stated, minors already have access to vaping products, so marketing isn't the issue. While it's true that access exists, marketing plays a significant role in increasing interest and normalizing this behavior. If we remove marketing aimed at minors, we can diminish the allure of vaping and reduce the number of young people who might experiment with it.
Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, judges, your turn.
Judges?
10 minutes again.
10 minutes. Right.
Go to.
Yeah, you're going somewhere out there, I don't know.
Somewhere out there.
Don't ask me. This morning, lots of positive information, lots of clear speaking, good points of information, which some days we have more or less. I think the judges out there have their work cut out for them this morning. But now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. You've listened to these arguments. You've listened to each other's arguments. Maybe, should we move this for a minute? Maybe you were debating for something you actually don't believe in. Maybe you are told to give the instruction at 9:30 that you had to debate against the motion or for the motion, when in reality your personal belief is something different. You may think what you had to say was actually not true or even just rubbish. So now's the moment for you to say so, because what we're here today is to see what you really think. So nobody's judging you now, they've left. They'll be back in a few minutes. So let's just be, Daria, you gave a very fine summing up there. Do you really believe that's about vaping?
I think that both points have a right to exist, and both points have really supported arguments to think so. But I honestly think that the best decision would be a mix of both. We could restrict the marketing, maybe, but restrict the marketing by changing it. I think that would be the best choice. I would stand on some middle ground. I honestly, just after conducting the research for this debate, actually, I realized that that making vaping to minors illegal. Before I thought that would be the only solution, but exactly after the preparation for this debate, I thought that actually it can be a mix of both.
So Romeo, you were leading the exam. What do you reply now? What do you think yourself?
Well, I am in favor of the proposition, and I think that banning the marketing of vaping to minors is, for now, the most effective solution. We could also use a mix of both, like she said. And well, for now I am in favor of the proposition.
So come on, let's have some of the teams over here. Who's going to take up the... Yes, I see somebody in the middle here. What would you like to say about it?
Me?
Yes, you. You're at a debate, sir. What is your belief? Not what we're we're seeing here. What do you think about vaping?
I suggest that we just I think a lot of us like disruptive marketing, so what I think is just regulate it heavily, like put a lot of regulations on it, and make it like just like actually, you know, like saying like this can actually harm you, so making it colorful, making it more like as we do with the cigarettes. That's what I actually think. Like, yeah, we can't just ban it, but just really.
And what about yourself over there, sitting quietly at the end?
I believe it should be.
A little bit louder.
I believe it should be banned for kids and maybe outdoors and education instead of making it fun and interesting for the minors to engage with.
What do you think, sir?
I personally think that it should be banned because there are lots of people working in the vaping industry that depend on the money made by the marketing for their families. So I think it'll be a bit mean for
Listen, there's all opinions here. Every opinion we're open to it all. That's what we're here for. Yeah? So, come on, one of you other gentlemen at the end here, sitting quietly.
I do agree with Daria. I think we should make it more educational and more so with cigarettes. Although people who are addicted now will still be smoking it and using it, even if packaging is uninteresting or horrible. But it's a mix of both.
Yeah. So, Ruby, I think most of your team are coming up with the same idea, aren't they?
Yeah,
It's quite surprising there.
Yeah.
Anybody got a different point of view? We've heard one. Yes, Chris.
No, I mean, markets show.
Not as a teacher,
Not as a teacher.
just as an adult.
As an adult. Well, as an adult, I've actually used a vape to quit smoking in general, actually. And for myself, I found it very beneficial in order to quit. And I was quite surprised when this debate came up that many of the children went, yeah, but vaping's worse for you than smoking. And there is this belief that vaping is worse for you than smoking traditional tobacco. And some of them even said that as well, which I find is that propaganda from a certain industry trying to sow seeds of doubt into youth. But when it's used as a quitting aid, I think it should be marketed as a health product like nicotine patches or more, this is to help you quit. And then that's the limit of marketing it should be, in my opinion, as a tool to quit as opposed to another habit to take up.
Nothing to do with the fancy flavours and colours?
No, I mean, again, I purely to quit, don't use one now myself, and I never was wanting flavours, it was that aspect, so it's quite interesting to see.
Ruby?
Kind of, as Chris is saying, I think if it is marketed, as a tool to quit, then there's absolutely no need for the fun colours or the fun flavours. So if that could very easily be eliminated, but like some of the speakers have said, obviously the companies involved are not going to want to do that because obviously they're going to lose money because likely they're going to have less minors that are engaging with it. If it's not fun colours, if it's not got the flavour, etc., etc. So,
Ron?
I'd like to ask both teams, during your research looking at this, there's the tobacco industry and there's the vaping industry. Are the two connected?
Good question. Are they connected? Who would like to
Who
answer?
actually-
Anybody get any idea?
The vaping industry and the tobacco industry are connected, but I'm not very sure about how they are connected.
Naomi, you look like you want to see something?
Well, as you mentioned, there's this certain gateway to smoking, right, when it comes to vaping. So I had a research somewhere that minors are 4 times more likely to pick up smoking when they vape compared to those who don't vape. So I would say yes, they're definitely linked.
I'm thinking from the financial aspects only, of course.
I think Imperial Tobacco or most of the vaping companies. American, British Tobacco and Imperial Tobacco, I think they're both, and their shares right now are going, yeah.
It's, we're getting to sort of alcohol and non-alcohol here. It's the same situation, isn't it?
There's it. Yes?
I have a question for both team, did any of you find out anything about the kind of scientific research that's gone into vapes and kind of how that affects health? Because I feel like cigarettes have been around for a long time, and so a lot of research has been done into those, but not so much into vaping. And I was just interested if you found anything out.
Well, there's not, since it only exists for 20 years, it's not a lot. However, there is a vaping-associated lung injury, which has already killed about at least 2,500 people in America, I believe. At least maybe not killed, but people have been affected by it. Which there might be more, there might be other things like in the future, since it took, for example, for cigarettes took about 50 years. So in like 30 years, we'll probably have more information. But for now, in the past 20 years, that's what has been found about like the directly associated to vaping and extremely dangerous stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to say the same, but according to scientific research, there's most definitely a decrease
Decrease in lung capacity.
Yes.
And there's a gentleman at the back there who's just been telling me really how he's trying to stop smoking. So, are you looking at vaping to help, sir?
Well, I have used vapes in the past, and I did find them helpful, but I'm still smoking. So,
so it didn't work.
I'm going to give it another go.
Can I just say before we hear the results of that, above the scraping of the chairs, because it's signalling break time, thank you so much for being here. Well done to all of you. It was absolutely brilliant again, having watched these debates over several years now. So whoever wins and whoever gets best, well done to everybody, because it takes a lot of courage to stand up there and talk like that. So I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for coming along to support. Thank you for the judges, etc., and Mr. Cunningham for coming over with your team. So over to you, Kate, or over to the judges?
Well, we're just waiting for the judges now. Is it, are you going to say?
And congratulations to participating. I've always said it looks great when you write your CVs later in your hobbies. People go, that's good. They like debates, they put themselves forward, they challenge themselves. Brilliant. Congratulations, Montessori. All guys team. You know, guys. So nice to see the guys are participating. Just a couple of points for improvement. Felix, congratulations. Dunya, congratulations. You had 2 challenges. All of a sudden you realised there had a little bit of a jiggle going on with your notes. And you used the music stand and you steadied yourself. You corrected something that wasn't quite right. Dunya as well, you know, you found yourself, you weren't being able to speak, so you propped it up, that's fine. You know, the fact you had challenges and you altered them, brilliant, keep it going. That's all from me.
Thank you, Izzy. Ollie, would you like to say
So, whenever I come to these, we see the question beforehand and you kind of go, okay, what can I argue if I was going to do this? And it's a really, like, we always learn something. We always learn something, don't we, as the judges here, about the subject, so we didn't know much about coming in. But this was a difficult one because it seemed very obvious that one side of the argument was much easier to argue than the other side of the argument. So I was really fascinated to hear for you guys to try and argue in support of something that's probably quite difficult to argue, and I was really impressed with everyone. But yeah, and to echo what Izzy said, particularly the newer ones here, actually, you get to really relax into it. You know, it's only a short period, but at the start you start to relax and you really start to get the hang of it. You know, so keep that progress going through this competition, and it will be great. I think that's enough for me. We have to make a decision, and it was difficult as ever.
As always.
So well done, teams. I just want to say that like both teams, you had like 4 or 5 points maximum, I would say, in terms of supporting your arguments. And to give you some tips to maybe help you in the future is if I was in one of these teams, and with my team, I would identify what are those 4 or 5 points that the whole team are going to make as in total, and allocate those points separately from each other. So you're all arguing separate points, but for the same argument. And in that way, you will have fewer things to say. And both teams, you all write out your speeches, yes? Do you all write them out? Once you've written them out, that only includes those 2 points that you've been allocated by your team, rather than trying to cover all the points. Lose 40% of those words. Just go through your script and have a discipline to say, okay, is that point really strong or is it not really strong? Is that sentence really strong or not that strong? And if it's not that strong, take it out. How can I say this more succinctly? How can I repeat myself less? And if you do that, you will have far, far less words that you've actually got to say during your 5 minutes. And if you've got fewer words to say, you will have more relaxation when you're actually in front doing your point. Then you're not rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat trying to get all your points out. You can relax a little bit more. You can pause at certain times. You can change your voice, be stronger, be weaker with your voice. Go up with your pitch, down with your pitch. Make it more interesting and engages. Most of the feedback that we as judges give to teams, most of it is about presentation. Presentation is only a third of your score. So why do we focus so much on presentation? The reason we focus on it is if your presentation isn't super good, then we actually miss some of the really, really good points that you're making. Because it goes, we're old. If it's coming at us too quickly, we don't retain it. So I would try, if I was you as teams, simplify what it is that you're saying. Make it more punchy, more succinct, fewer words, and I think you'll be much more relaxed when you're on stage. Anyway, now to the result. And we've got Imperial Properties here, so if I can invite Portia and Georgia to come up and join me here. We're going to make the all-important presentation. Okay. So Portia, do you want to present to the best team? And the best team today is...
Drum roll!
So the winning school is...
Right, so the winning school is... Georgia. Okay, the Montessori.
No, it's BIC. It's BIC.
Would you like to come down and have a photograph, please, with that team? Thank you very much.
Miss Wilson, you need to be in the photo. Yes.
Stand in the back there.
Miss Wilson.
He's waiting for you.
The wrong film award. Right, and now the best debater.
Oh yes.
Drum roll.
The best debater was Daria.
Okay. Miss Caldwell as well, please. Yes.
Do you want to join in? Do you want us in, Harry, as well, or not? Do you want us in first?
Yeah, please. Well done, Harry. Oh, no. Well done.
We've been involved in this, well, predates me, I know, the debating, and Miss Austin has often led on this, and Miss Austin is promoted to a senior leadership role. We were facing the hideous thought that we might have to pull out of the debates, which nobody wanted because it's so important to us. So we put it out to staff, and Miss Wilson stepped in to take the lead on the debate. She's not been involved in the debates in the school here before, and it was relatively short notice in terms of practicing and getting the students ready for that. So congratulations to our school. Thank you, Miss.
Can we know, well done as well, Montessori. I'm not done with that sponsorship, you know. There we are. How are we doing, sir? Is everybody in? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me give you that one. Thank you.